Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before on the IABD Presents.com network. This episode, the gang talks about the Squire of Gothos, the one and only Squire of Gothos, the one and only one so far. After you're done listening to this, you might want to check out some other stuff on the IABD Presents network. Hey, today's the day. It's Andy Batt's podcast. He took a little hiatus, but the library is full. Meet and get to know a lot of the theater and improv personalities in Columbus, and even beyond that. Maybe take an album adventure with Andy. It's Today's the Day podcast. Check it out. Lots of good stuff there. Lots of fun. Get to know people in your community and people you might want to check out. You know where and a lot of them you might want to check out at Mad Lab. And speaking of Mad Lab, the It's All Been Done Radio Hour, the flagship, the original, will be there coming up soon on May 13th. Not very many days away from when you're hearing this for the first time, hopefully. Yes, May 13th, they will be at Mad Lab doing their old serialized format. It's modern versions of old radio serials. Universe Journey, which is, I don't know what it's based on, but it sounds pretty cool. It's always been a lot of fun. Maybe the Porn Star Architects will be there. Maybe Packer and Ratcliffe. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe all three. But check them out and check out the old. You can check out the old tapes. The old tapes? What are we in the 70s? You can check out all the old podcasts of those guys and get caught up if you're not already familiar with them right here at IABDpresents.com. But right now, sit back, listen to the gang, talk to you, talk with you. We're a community. We're together about the Squire of Gothos.
Welcome out to a new episode of It's All Been Checked Before. All of your regular hosts are here.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Oh, I guess I'm supposed to say hi. This is Keith, and I'm speaking at a normal conversational volume.
And that first voice was Steven.
Yes.
And this is Jimmy-Jerome.
And I'm Nick.
He's
who has
new.
not been on this podcast before.
I have not.
His name is Nicholas Argenbright.
Mm-hmm.
He is the creator and longtime host of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, also available on the IABD Presents network.
All three of them.
Yes. Oh, yes, I am all three.
The good, the bad, and the geeky.
Well, we always joked about who was who, but we could never determine an actual... But I'm pretty sure Nick's the bad. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say,
because you're Nathan. Because you're
That's an old school
joke for old GBG fans.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Nick has joined us. Before we start talking about the episode, Nick, why don't you tell us about when did you first become aware of Star Trek? And what drew you to the series?
I really didn't have a choice. My dad would watch two shows ad nauseum on replay. It was Star Trek and
Pretty
MASH.
Little Liars. Oh.
And darn. What?
I'm just kidding.
That was way before. Way after.
It was a bad joke.
I thought it would be a lot funnier if Star Trek was not one of the two shows. But just bring that up.
Mary Tyler Moore and the Golden Girls.
See, that would have been no. So and I would watch Star Trek, but I did enjoy the movies a lot. The series I didn't have. Well, it's kind of like Styx. My dad would listen to Styx, and I was like, I cannot stand Styx. I like him now.
Okay.
I like him now, but it was one of those things. So I love the movies because they weren't on as much, but he would just watch Star Trek all the time.
And yet now you don't hate Star Trek either.
Well, I don't hate Star Trek. I just didn't like the show, the original series. I love Next Generation.
There are certain episodes originally you like, though.
Yes, and we might be talking about one tonight.
Which is why you came and showed up tonight. You're like, oh, Squire of Gothos, I gotta come for that.
Yeah. Well, I also promised, but that's another thing. Long story short, I am here, people. Here for you. For your needs as a listener. And after that, your needs will be fulfilled just fine.
And that's enough from Nick, so the rest of us I'm just kidding.
Actually, I was like, Nick, what do you think? It was good.
Roll credits.
And so that was a short episode.
Oh my god.
Call back to watching the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, well, that was a short
When
episode.
they skipped Trelane the first time.
Jesus.
So, overall first impressions of this episode.
I don't know that I liked it as much as I did the first 50 times I watched it as a kid. I still enjoyed it, but I remember liking it a lot more. I think, and again, maybe it's with age, my take is different. As a kid, I was like, this guy's an a-hole. What the heck? I don't get it. But my thing this time was kind of like, okay, yes, he takes them off the ship. Yes, he gets them there. But I feel like their whole mission is to find out about these people. And they just go straight to, we got to go. Kirk's even like, I think his thing was like, we have duties. things to do. It's like, okay, but this actually is your duty.
Exploring new life.
Yeah, let's give it at least an hour or two. Do lunch.
He jumps to a lot of conclusions.
He really does, I think.
In this one.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, that did strike me as strange. I didn't actually even write that one down. The Saul, was it? Just going.
Sal.
Immediately.
Going for the phaser, like as soon as possible. Like his back is turned. We better shoot him.
Yeah.
Just have a conversation. What does he want? Just.
DeSalle played by Michael Barrier.
Sal.
DeSalle.
He comes back.
I'm still saying it wrong.
I think he comes back later.
He did one other episode as the same character, This Side of Paradise, which was also this year, 1966.
He probably pulls out a phaser.
And he only has one other IMDb credit after this. I mean, he's only got 19 total, but he's got one other after Star Trek, and that's it.
I love we're saying only as if we all have 50 among us.
I was in 53 episodes of the original series before I was born.
So that said, I still enjoyed it. But...
Time travelers.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, we were on to I don't know if other people want to get in there yet.
Yeah, I liked it. I think Trelane's a very colorful character, but this was never my favorite episode of Star Trek, and it still isn't.
Yeah.
I'd say one thing I noticed new this time that I didn't recall from watching it before was the courtroom scene with the wig. Was eerily reminiscent of Q when he shows up in Encounter at Farpoint in The Next Generation, which is funny because, as we had talked about off the air, the Peter David novel Q Squared, which may very well be the best Star Trek novel ever written, establishes that Trelane is a Q.
Right.
Which it certainly looked like it.
Which is one of the reasons why I actually like the episode, because it's just very much hints of the Q continuum and sets up Next Generation, or it has hints of it.
Right.
And
Next Gen borrowed heavily from original series.
Oh, definitely.
Well, you would think it would have to in some ways because
Gene only has a few ideas and he created
No, it's kind of the point of doing a continuation
of the
sequel.
It's
like,
I mean, they never did establish
here,
the train was a Q officially in canon.
Yeah.
But
well,
I
that's
think
what I was going to ask. Is it canon?
No, it's not canon. Okay. But I feel like most fans at this point are just like, yeah, he was a Q.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes that. It was never. There's nothing in canon that contradicts that he's a Q.
Yeah, because at first when the parents show up, they're almost like kind of sympathetic, and then you realize, oh no, they're very contradicting and very
Yeah.
Very like, oh, they're not that great anyway. I'm just saving you because I pity you as a race, species. Because at first it's like, no, you're being mean. And then it's like, oh, it's because they're lesser than you.
This was an interesting episode. I'm not going to say it's been one of my favorites so far. When we get to ranking, I think this will be an easier one. Yeah. I guess, and we can dive into this more. Jim, while we were watching it, said something about like, oh, Trelane's like Trump.
Kinder, gentler Trump.
Yeah, well, and I wrote down impetuous child about Trelane, which ended up coming back in towards the end, but...
When Steven was talking about remembering him differently, I wondered if, having seen the worst version of him in reality, colors how we now view this character.
That's an interesting point.
That we may have viewed him as much more dangerous before we actually had a president who was a worse version of him.
Well, I mean, going a step further, if he is a Q is an almost even worse version than Trelane to an extent. Yeah. In a different way. He's fully aware of what he can do.
Right.
But Trelane,
he's still figuring it out.
He's still figuring it out. Which is actually almost in some ways more terrifying, because when he disappears from the mirror, like, I completely forgot about that. Like, when he disappears from the mirror, you're like, oh crap, this dude
Because at that point, they're thinking... They've got you thinking that it's all in the mirror, and then he disappears. And you're like, "Oh, whoa!" And to me, I wasn't surprised, but when I heard other people be surprised, I was like, "Oh, wait, yeah, you guys don't all know that he's like super powerful."
Yeah. Which now, granted, there are some. I think the reason why I like the episode so much is that I think it sets other stuff up well, or just put things in better context. Now, there was a line I liked, which puts Star Trek Beyond into context a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Which was I don't want to spoil it too like years from now. But the bad guy is a Starfleet officer who gets marooned. He was a soldier. Right. Yeah. And there's that line. It means it in jest kind of, but he's like, "Oh, we're all soldiers underneath our uniform, under our skin," and I'm just kind of like. That's kind of
Trelane-ish.
That's kind of Trelane-ish in a way. And they always do go. And Justin Lin, the director, is a big fan of the original. So I was like, that's an interesting little comment. Sorry. Throw that out there.
We need Keeks.
Yeah.
Well, I've been waiting to say this. It's funny because I think I'm actually out of sync with you guys again.
Anyway, back to what
I think I enjoyed this. Probably this is rather far up for me actually.
Really?
The list. I wouldn't say that it's great, and just thinking about it now, I can start to find probably a few more faults. But at the same time, I felt like I enjoyed watching this one probably more than a lot of them. So.
I mean, I think a big part of the credit for why this is so much fun goes to William Campbell as Trelane. He's just got a magnetic, charismatic personality. Even when he's being petulant, he's still entertaining.
And we almost had Roddy McDowall as.
Oh, is that?
Oh,
but
that makes
the
sense.
studio, the studio thought he was too.
No, I would have loved to
feminine
see that
for the role, and especially during the show, which was already having
I like Roddy McDowall,
extreme, whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
I could totally see that.
Well, I mean, I could too, but I think he's such a better fit for that role of Trelane because I kind of
maybe Malcolm. But I guess he would have been too young then.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well.
So yeah, William Campbell definitely comes at it a very theatrical approach, as he does a little bit when he comes back in The Trouble with Tribbles as the Klingon Captain Koloff, but not as intense.
And
the second appearance.
I don't know if it was intended or not, but at the time, Liberace was still a big deal.
I wondered.
All I could think about was Liberace the whole time.
I was thinking that too.
In the 70s, I kept seeing Liberace on the Merv Griffin show.
Oh, yeah.
And he was still talking about not having found the right girl yet.
So much.
Fantastic.
And I didn't understand it.
Stuff about William Campbell
reportedly he died in 2011, but those of you who remember the Beatles, Paul McCartney dying in the 60s, reportedly William Campbell, part of the conspiracy, the rumor was that he's the one who had his face surgically altered, and he is in fact now Paul McCartney.
What?
Yeah, William Campbell is Paul McCartney. You see now.
That's funny. I don't remember.
So William Campbell is not dead.
What?
So who's the William Campbell that died?
We don't know. That's some other actor, probably. if you read up on the Paul Dead stuff, William Campbell. He's
I
he's
see
the guy,
that now when I Google it. But that's funny because William Campbell still has credits to the 70s, 80s, 90s.
That must be somebody else.
Okay.
Hey, Paul McCartney kept recording records.
Okay, well,
He's still.
maybe it was different William Campbell.
It
It's
could,
a common name.
Well, are you sure it's not Angela Lansbury?
Well,
She is the serial killer.
She is the serial killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've talked about that on past episodes
Yeah,
of
we
this.
have.
so that's William Campbell's one of his, not one of his bigger credits, but I guess it is if it's true. If it's true, he's doing a great job.
He rocked. He did a great show. I hear at the Horseshoe here in Columbus.
Exactly. Yeah.
3 or 4 hours nonstop playing. Didn't even change a costume or anything like that. He just went out there and then.
You want to talk fashion?
Sure. Let's talk fashion.
Fashion.
Since we're already talking about Trelane's coat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, that's the most obvious fashion in this one is Trelane's incredibly flamboyant, and I hadn't even thought of
Liberace.
Yeah, Liberace,
Oh, yeah.
but it makes
Yeah.
so much sense.
Yeah.
And at the keyboard and constantly staring in the mirror,
Yeah.
that all makes so much sense. Quick fashion thing. Hers green earrings were back, and I still want them.
They're back a lot.
I know.
Get used to
I'm
them.
just saying. I still want them. But then, was it Yeoman Ross? Was that who?
Teresa
Ross.
Teresa
Not
Ross.
Teresa. Teresa.
Teresa, who was played by Benita Wolf.
Yeah.
Interesting name. I like Benita.
Doesn't have a ton of credits, but
She has 10. She was in a bunch of episodes of Beverly Hillbillies. 7 of them.
there you
She was
Okay.
at.
she was also another one, and I think I had this episode, and now that it's warm weather, go check. She was on the cover of Playboy also.
Oh.
Around this time, it was summer of '67, so just after this thing.
Well, so when Trelane is like, oh, this yeoman outfit is not going to do, and then instantly puts her in like the pink girly, and that reminded me.
With plenty of cleavage.
Oh yeah, plenty of cleavage, and that reminded me of Audrey Hepburn's costume in War and Peace.
Huh.
Is that her?
That's her. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's her.
that's her face.
I love that you're all in Playboy, and I'm like,
But isn't that the
Audrey
first
Hepburn,
issue?
guys.
What's that?
Isn't that the first issue?
No,
I
this
thought
is like
you were
67.
going to mention
Yeah.
shore leave.
I think I have it.
Well, I mean, there's more to talk about, but fashion-wise for Ross, that is what I had for her.
Yeah.
Her dress looked like Audrey Hepburn from War and Peace.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Too long.
Nope.
Sorry.
Well, and we know Kirk approved of that fashion.
Oh my god. Okay.
Well, yeah, that was the next thing.
So that was for me. I thought that when he gave her the look over at the end of the episode, he he got very creepy.
Yeah.
In today's context,
It was weird.
But then he saved it kind of with this weird like playful. It's like, well, the ball's over. You can get dressed now.
No, he didn't save it.
Maybe not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Well,
But considering it could have been a lot worse. He could have said something even worse
He
than that.
straight up just stared at her boobs.
well, and
It was more of a
because in the
glance.
shot,
I mean,
that wasn't a glance. Jim even paused it at that point.
in the
and
shot,
it was full on.
her cleavage is like centered up, like it's a Wes Anderson film.
That's true.
And then they still like, hey Shatner, we need to make sure people know you're looking at her boobs. So yeah, he's got to do the look down.
Oh, it was
Beat,
straight on.
Oh, there's a person here. Hello.
And then she leaves, and he's got this little like, oh, I'm so distracted.
Well, to be fair, I was going to say, well, how often do you see cleavage on the Enterprise? But we know
All the time.
we know
Oh,
the casual clothes they wear.
Well, if you at the beginning of the episode, which was pointed out, which I didn't notice the first time I
That's
watched it, which
pretty
was
funny.
she's like, "Hello, or it's like, hello, Captain."
When he
How are
first
you?"
gets back from...
Yeah,
I'm so worried
and-
about you.
I'm so worried about you, and he just sits down like,
And they
I ain't
notice her.
talking. Yeah,
And she looks angry after that.
Yeah.
right. She does that thing where she like
Her cheeks
Yeah.
suck in.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's an alternate story there.
Well, as I said, I think that's a. Yeah, now I see why you and Rand left. Yeah, she's like, this kind of treatment. I'm looking at, and of course, we never see her again.
Yeah.
We never see.
Well, and you could also
Erase
see
her
that
wrong.
he didn't notice her until that moment.
Yes.
Really.
Well, he's married to the ship.
Right.
He had ship matters.
Or, based on that reaction, maybe he had noticed her before. She'd made kind of a play for him. He shut her down, or didn't call her the next day. And so that's why when she tries to approach him again, he's like, I'm not acknowledging her. I already blew her off. I don't need to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Or to go back to the beginning of the episode, maybe she was like, "Did you not like my coffee?"
That's true.
Because she was delivering the coffee at the beginning of the episode, so maybe.
Or was it really the cup?
In the styrofoam cup
It's like-
space. Once you leave planet Earth, you don't need to worry about environmental.
There were no advances in coffee making or service. In
Have
the
you
future.
tried this Bones? It's horrible coffee. But I can't stand the cup more. My God.
Decaf?
It's almost like you could do a Shatner impression.
My God, man. Also, can I just say that was it DeForest Kelly?
Yeah.
Had a little bit of overacting, which is very unlike him. Which was where you heard is like,
Wait,
what happened?
unlike him, no. Have
No.
you watched some of the most recent episodes?
Not the most. No, I feel like he's usually a very subdued character. But again,
Yeah,
without
usually,
watching
yeah.
the series again. But like in that one,
Might take him a little time to settle into the part.
I'm just saying, the ones that we've watched recently, there
which this is
some
still first
overacting.
season.
Yeah.
so-
There may be, but my
yeah,
overall
you heard her
remembrance
ask
of
him
him
a
is
question,
very-
and he does this thing where he's like very handsy movement,
Oh, yeah.
like he's trying to mold clay or something. He's like, well, it's oh, never mind, you wouldn't get it anyway. And I was like, well, that part's it's funny, but it's like, well, that's a
Well,
different.
he had a really great line of dialogue there that he said to Uhura about how he was like, I'm trembling and I don't know if it's from laughing or terror.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what?
It is a weird line.
Oh, Bones.
He did have a great
Yeah.
sense of exposition though too, which I liked
Yeah.
it when I watched it. Where when Kirk snaps out of it, and it does give you a sense of time passing by, which actually I felt the intensity of the scene raise up a little bit. Which he's like, "Tell me, Bones, what happened?" And he's just like, "You've been out for 4 hours. We've been trying to find you.
Yeah.
We got kidnapped, and here we are. We're here.
Yeah.
Here we are." And I'm just kind of like, "Wow!" And it's not too corny. It's actually
Right.
very direct. Because Shatner sometimes, because it's his old school acting before
Yes.
it's now hip to act like that again. He sometimes.
Well, like Shatner and Campbell matched each other's energy pretty well. When
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. With the very obviously fake sword versus the obviously very fake tree limb.
I don't know why you think
There's
that
no
sword was
waste.
fake just because Kirk broke it on his
Yeah,
knee.
Kirk he's been hitting the squats because man, he
Well,
destroyed that sword.
sword's probably like everything else.
Oh,
It
it's
would look
just
the
a copy
same,
of a
but no
copy.
substance.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, and before you get off the subject of overacting, that plays into a couple things I wrote down there. First of all, the first thing I wrote down was Sulu fails to blink enough time to prevent vanishing. At the beginning, it was weird. So there was a was like a full like 2 or 3 seconds of him going,
God.
blink, blink, wait, something has happened to me. Stand up, something has happened to me. Gone.
And then when he was going blind because of the way he was blinking.
So when they come back, Kirk goes over and vanishes without any sort of preamble to it. He just walks over, they're gone.
He just does that Shatner stumble thing, and then he's gone.
But when they come back, they're frozen. When they unfreeze,
they're frozen very wobbly.
Kirk
can't stand still.
Yeah.
Kirk just looks like, oh, okay, that's that. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Sulu blinks another time as if he's still dazed, and so it feels like he is doing like more of the overacting there in that one. But
I would say that's overacting.
Or
I would
actually
say that's
acting.
Yeah.
Well, I would say yeah.
Well, I mean, he's not a real actor because he's not a voice actor. But anyway.
No, but wait. I mean, think about how this thing would work. Why would he have any sort of impression that something's about to happen?
Yeah.
Why would it be like a tingle? It should just be like
But
gone.
if his eyes are open the whole time,
because when Kirk walked over, there was almost like he was caught in something, and then he disappeared. Which
Maybe.
then that didn't keep up with the rest of
No.
what
Trelane was
Trelane
still
did.
figuring out his powers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sure.
What was the...
He was locking on or
We
something.
kind of mentioned it and skipped over it. So what was the point of the mirror? If it wasn't... Was it just to pick up for the audience?
I think it was to play those sound effects that were borrowed from the Monkeys show at the time. When it got destroyed.
I think part of it, and we're filling in the blanks
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
But it could be two things. One thing is it's kind of a monitor for the parents to help keep track of when the kids malfunctioning. And the second one is that Trelane doesn't have full use of his powers yet, so he is all powerful. But he
not
can't.
all powerful.
Well, not all powerful, but he's
He's
way
got a lot
powerful.
of power.
Than
Yeah.
I never thought about the parents thing. That actually makes sense because when he gets upset, it's, if they don't see me, they're going to come and this is going to be over.
So the mirror...
Yeah, it's
That may be why...
See, I
It could have been his baby monitor.
I was looking at like it's a baby
Nanny
monitor,
cam.
and the monitor.
Okay.
Oh my god, the camera's
You know, that
off.
makes a ton
I didn't
of
think
sense.
that the
That
mirror
makes-
can
yeah.
see that. That's
That
actually
That
makes
makes
sense.
so much sense.
But then the other thing is
Well,
too is that if Trelane's using the power to help generate the atmosphere, not just the machine, the
Yeah.
machine can take can help him not use all his power, drain him a little bit.
I was going to say it seemed almost analogous to having maybe like a TV or a heater or something in the room, like the fireplace went down, all the lights went off. It wasn't like the whole. It's not the reality advantage. It's just like this is just like a little device to help me do these things.
And the problem though with the episode, and this is where it's kind of a plot hole realistically, because they don't explain it. We're having to fill in the blanks, which is the way they set up is that if you destroy the machine, then it stops Trelane, but by doing so, it also puts you in the back of the lava pit, and which they're very ill-equipped for.
No, that's why Kirk asked Spock, would it be big enough to be inside here, the machine that's in the atmosphere?
Yeah.
And he said no, and so that's why he felt okay destroying the mirror, because that wouldn't have been the machine that did everything. That was only doing
part of it.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's not a plot hole. They solved
Okay,
that.
well, I take that back.
I have a couple of things about the mirror.
Uh-huh.
Part of it, I think, like the idea of like baby monitor, nanny cam makes sense. I also think it was to highlight the vanity of Trelane.
Sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just clearly that, and then also to have, to me, one of the downfalls of the episode is DeSalle sneaking up on Trelane to shoot him in a mirror.
In a mirror.
Because you can't sneak up on someone who's constantly looking in the mirror.
I think
That's why he has the mirror for security.
Because people would have thought he was a vampire if they didn't have the mirror. He just saw the reflection. So I mean, the salt vampire at the beginning. You're like, oh, maybe he's a different kind of vampire. No,
Yeah, well, he did have a throwback to the man trap in this.
which was purely like, we have this really expensive costume we built lying around, let's use it again.
Right, and so he can shoot it and disappear
Yeah.
later.
Well, and I guess maybe that suggests, because one of my questions was, of all the planets in the universe he could watch and observe, Earth was the one he focused on.
Of course.
Apparently he focused on the salt vampire, even though...
Or
we saw the last one was destroyed.
Did that species somehow meet up with him, or become
that's
trapped?
There you go.
not, yeah, and it's very unclear. Well, like they talk about his planet being 900 light years from Earth, but as we talked about off the podcast, there was no consistency with the time period because it was there were a lot of things that would have been much earlier.
I think
much
the same
closer.
Trelane's didn't understand his powers. They were saying with their scope it would be 900, but I think he didn't know what he was doing.
Here's the thing with the production design, though. We were saying, you guys kept saying, like, oh, it's not 900 years. It's not.
No, it's
but with all of the references that he was making to Hamilton, to Napoleon, the harpsichord, the production design, it did actually all fit in together. It was all...
Like 400 years.
It was all late 18th, early 19th century, including the style of dress.
Oh, yeah.
It was
So
all...
like Hamilton,
But that was 400 or 500 years ago, not
Right, but I'm saying
1820,
it wasn't... it was inconsistency in what they said versus what was being shown.
I gotcha.
But there was
What
not
was shown was consistent.
what was being shown.
So they should have just fixed the dialogue.
Yeah, they should have just changed the dialogue for 900 years.
Right, they were just guessing.
Plus 900 light years, isn't that pretty darn close to Earth? Because Voyager's thrown, what, like 70,000 light years away?
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know.
I don't know about that, but I can tell you about the fashion of the early 1800s.
Well, we skipped, we left fashion if we want to go back.
I did. Well, there is one thing I would Desal. There's the reason he's so. I want to shoot everything. I mean, he walks around with that broken fingernail. Well, how did that happen? He's a violent guy.
That was great. We were all
He's
watching
a violent
Either
guy.
that or he's goth and he painted that.
No, that looked like a straight
it
up
was.
blood blister
blood
under his
blister.
nail.
Yeah, he had that.
Probably a production accident.
Starfleet.
Emo Starfleet.
Yeah, Emo Starfleet. I will say though, going back to the mirror for just 1 second, and this is not plot point or anything like that. It's just more like I noticed it as a wannabe director that Star Trek, or all shows back at that time, was very generic. They have a nice long tracking, not long, but for Star Trek, long shot of where Trelane's dancing and Uhura's playing, and you see Spock and Kirk and Bones in the background all talking to each other, and then Kirk just walks right into frame, and I'm like, that's an awesome shot. And the director must have loved that episode because you don't get a lot of
The use of the mirror made
yeah.
them have to use some, I think, interesting camera movements,
Yeah.
which was
stuff.
nice.
Because whenever you put a mirror in there, you instantly have to worry about where you have the camera. You don't want that to be in the reflection.
Well, this Don McDougal was the director, and he's most known for doing a bunch of westerns. So you think about the bar in the western. There's usually a big mirror. He's probably used to working with it. I don't know, I'm making stuff up now.
I don't know that's
He did a bunch of episodes of Dukes of Hazzard.
I kind of feel that directors back then though were really more. They were very much more. I think they could shoot off the hip, no pun intended, and really use exciting things for trying to spice it up. While today, I think it's too fast paced. Yeah, you have a fancy movie director coming in.
Yeah, I was looking. He's got a ton of credits. I mean, this guy worked a lot. But this was the only episode of Star Trek he directed.
Interesting.
So he's actually still alive. Oh no, he died in 1991. I'm sorry.
He's still alive, but he died in 1990.
No, I saw
Next up when it's all been
Is he a vampire? It all comes back to vampire.
It said age 73. I didn't realize.
Oh, that was my other thought about Trelane and the Salt Vampire is that's why it's the last Salt Vampire. There were two, and he took one.
He took one.
Yeah, and then left that one
That
all
was
by
his
itself.
old obsession?
Yeah.
Before he was into
the
Earth?
toy broke. And
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of science in this episode, too.
Yeah.
We actually got a report from the geologist.
And we had a meteorologist.
I was like,
Yeager, the meteorologist.
And also, can I just say, for Spock saying, right when Kirk and Sulu disappear, reverse full power, where are you going to run, Spock?
Yeah.
I mean, you're my boy of science, but where are you going to run?
So real quick about Yeager, he was played by Richard Carlisle, who also has quite a few credits, best known for the movie Harper with Paul Newman.
Not to be
and Torpedo Run.
mistaken with the Richard Carlisle that now is famous.
No, it's different guy.
No, this guy, he's still alive, but he died in 2000. Died in 2009.
I say it with a lot of love. He's 95 years old, but he died in 2009. Up next on It's All Been Trek Before, other actors who are still alive.
So my Carl Yeager note was Carl Yeager, the meteorologist, didn't rate a Mister. There was 4 people he introduced. It was was it officer, doctor, Mister, and Carl Yeager.
Well, that's because he was German.
I also kind of feel though sometimes, at least this is my memory, I'm
Yeager.
not watching them all like you guys are, but I do feel like sometimes it's not like Indiana Jones where everyone calls him Dr. Jones.
You call him Dr. Jones.
Or 007 or Mr. Bond. I think Kirk sometimes does just sometimes throw out Mr. What's going on?
Mr. Uhura. They do sometimes call the females Mr. too.
So I have a thing about Jaeger in the South.
You were kidding.
No, they established that as being like a
military
thing.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So, first, Jaeger and DeSalle, because they were the only non-main characters on the away mission, I thought there was a chance they were going to die.
Yeah.
But then they didn't. So, okay, that's fine. But that brings me to Trelane. Okay, so because that same scene where Kirk is like introducing everyone to Trelane because Trelane is insisting on it, and he instantly starts speaking French to DeSalle. He instantly starts speaking German to Jaeger. Doesn't say anything to Sulu, but
not a damned thing to Sulu.
Calls Uhura Nubian.
That's what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, well that's the
Here's my
900-year thing.
Is he calls Uhura Nubian prize. Nubian prize, and asks if she was taken on a raid.
The original line of dialogue was Nubian slave, and she told William Campbell, he's like, if you say that line as written, I will kick you in the shin.
Really? Nice.
That's for IMDb trivia.
That's awesome.
Good for Nichelle Nichols.
Well,
I was like, okay, I wasn't the biggest fan of Trelane, but I was just sort of like, oh, impetuous child, he's kind of silly. And then he called her a Nubian prize and asked if she was taken in a raid, and I was done.
Not to defend,
he doesn't understand.
Not to defend that type of language, but the time period that he was looking at Earth, I think that was a reference for that.
My biggest problem with Trelane and Uhura is, don't get me wrong, Yeoman and Teresa Ross love
But he should have been dancing with her.
How did he pick her over her?
Uhura, I'm sure, would have been a much better dancer.
And also,
ridiculous.
She did a great job of going, I know how to play now.
Yeah, she was very excited about it.
She looked happy about it.
I feel like she should know how to play that, because we know she can play stuff.
She's a musician.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I can play ukulele, but it doesn't mean I can play the piano.
Fair point.
A couple of things about the realism of that point. First of all, yes, I was going to say the same thing that Jimmy was saying. It's consistent with what he's doing, what he's going for. This is the time period where something like that would have happened. This meant probably more than anything else to highlight how much time has passed from that point. They're supposed to hit the people in the 60s and go, we're not that backwards right now. So it's that kind of thing. Also, as far as, as a musician, sort of myself at times, or in the past, whatever, I think if I were in a situation where someone just said, hey, play that, I'd be like, I can't do that. And so they gave me the power to do it, I'd be like, holy shit. Whoa, sorry. I'd be like, wow, or gee, I'm so glad that I'm able to play this thing now. No, I'd be kind of amazed, like, how did you do that?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
So to talk about the discrimination and stuff, I was looking at the IMDb trivia, and I saw what Nick had mentioned, that Roddy McDowall was who he was written for. They would not use Roddy because they feared that Trelane would come across as gay if they had used Roddy.
I was trying to be polite without saying gay. That's what I was trying to make, very effeminate, because I don't believe he.
They said Campbell has a huskier look or build that would offset the foppish mannerisms. Had they done Roddy, they thought he would have been.
Really?
Yeah.
But it worked out okay. Roddy had his own franchise
from it.
So
yes, but Liberace was
contrast.
straight in the 60s. You forget.
Wait, they were worried about Roddy McDowall looking gay, and then they used the term foppish.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that's. I think it's fair.
1960s.
Yeah. Oh,
1960s.
Just like the idea is that someone probably, maybe not, maybe even told them to say, you should make a point about putting her in her place. I'm like, Jesus, God.
Mm-hmm.
And then McDowell went off and did a movie about Planet of the Apes, and he was.
It also makes me wonder then if they were trying to really make sure that Trelane didn't appear gay, which is just nonsense. But anyway, that would explain why at one point he's like, ooh, there's women on the ship. Like, again, in like a totally effeminate way, he says it, but he's just like, ooh, like he gets all excited.
But sometimes either little kids are either that way or they're very like, ooh, cooties. Yeah, it's the same kind of, he's just having...
However, when Campbell went to audition, he read one paragraph and the producer said, go straight to wardrobe, he's got the part.
Huh.
Okay.
This kid's got it. Get him straight to wardrobe.
Okay.
The kid stays in the picture. See?
I think by the standards of like mod 60s and 70s, he didn't really seem that effeminate. But I mean, certainly, like if you contrast it to modern day Liberace and then go back to
because remember back
that's
then,
not
Liberace,
like
he's right. Liberace back then was not considered. People were talking, but officially he was not.
Well, like I was saying, even in the 70s, he was still saying, "I just haven't met the right girl."
No, what I'm saying is that even I would say that Liberace is at least several notches more feminine than that.
Yes.
So by those, I can see them dialing it back. I was thinking that as I was watching. It was like they seem to be going for that, but at the same time, they're like just putting that hard limit.
I think you have a fair point because the whole thing with Trelane, before you find out full on that he's a child, he's into like everything about appearances. It's all about the aesthetics of it. So, and that is a kid thing too. Is like, oh, how does this look? Do you like this? And here, play with me. Here,
So the writer Paul Schneider said the purpose of this episode when he wrote it was an anti-war statement. Getting his inspiration from seeing children playing war. He wanted to demonstrate, basically how childish that whole thing was, and he was using Trelane to make a commentary on war.
Which is kind of ironic because, as you pointed out, Kirk is very actually just guns blazing.
Yeah.
And because we were talking
less so in that episode,
this takes place in 2260.
Very much getting out of here.
So it was set exactly 300 years after it aired.
Okay.
The date.
Well, that's going back to that thing where Kirk is guns blazing. He makes a point of saying to Trelane, because Trelane is obsessed with war and military and everything's very militaristic, and Kirk makes a point of saying to him, like, oh, well, we don't do that anymore. Like, that's not us. But then as soon as Trelane, like, starts doing anything, he's like, are you trying to murder us all? Like, he's instantly, like, when Trelane's playing...
You're going to stay and be my guest. So you can kill us all one by one,
Yeah, it's like, wait, if you are trying to say that humans are now not militaristic, but that is instantly how you are, like, viewing Trelane, like, why can't you give him the benefit of the doubt? And it's, again, going back to your point of their job is to look at these beings and other planets.
Because Spock, I don't think, says destroy him. Spock's just fascinated.
Which Spock has my favorite line
irritated,
in the
actually.
entire series, which is, I object to you. I object to intellect without discipline. I object to power without constructive purpose.
That is great.
Trelane's response. Oh, Mr. Spock, you have to do one saving grace after all.
As well.
You're ill-mannered. Human have you, no doubt.
And Kirk looks so delighted.
Oh, yeah.
That whole scene. He's just like, see, here we go. We've got our slash fixed in again. Yes. He's like, yeah, that's my boy. Yeah. He wants to make out with Spock right then.
So we mentioned the salt vampire costume that got zapped. The second thing that got zapped, which we saw even more briefly, was the bird-like creature from The Cage.
Oh. Yeah, they had props laying around.
Yes.
It's that shocking music cue that always plays.
Yeah. What other notes you guys got?
Quite a few.
Okay.
We went to, let's see.
I did have one when they go to the duel. Why doesn't Kirk consult with Sulu? Because we know Sulu knows how guns work.
Why does he look at the barrel of the gun? Like that's the one thing you don't do with gun
he should have talked to Sulu. He's got Sulu there. He's got that expertise.
Well, starting from the top of what I haven't said yet.
Yeah.
The thing that one of the things I found very amusing was the greeting card that he sent them. I said, was it the aliens or the computer that chose the font for the felicitations? So it was like that weird.
The F that's flowery.
I can't remember what the name of those would be. The
Font.
Well, no, but I mean, like.
Tally-ho.
Victorian, I can't think of what it would be in the computer, what it was called.
The tally-ho was kind of foreshadowing to what the hunt that ended up happening.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So, it said, after meeting the Squire, it seems like he must have taken the time to create a flash video greeting card because it was animated. It wasn't just, it was greetings and...
Hey, from the
felicitations.
From the 1960s, for them to have conceived of flash
I wonder.
cards?
It certainly looked like,
I mean, they were pretty bad about conceiving of other things, but that...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he clearly must have designed the font and sent it to them. Like, here's this thing.
And then there was an ad at the bottom. They cut that scene. That's something to the website to marketing cards.
Do you want to send a card back to Trelane? I sent you an e-card. Do you want to send him a card? A thank you card?
They would have these two poorly Napoleon dressed like little annoying rabbits go, hey buddy, we're having a war down here, Tally-ho, you want to come down?
And Kirk's like, none of that crap. You hurry up, go to Jib Jab, we're putting Trelane's face on a cartoon.
And then they'll especially get a nice surprise in the end of year review.
One of the things I didn't write down was my favorite moment. I think.
Dear you, keep not writing it down.
Well, everyone laughed at that point. It's just, well, was it DeSalle? Maybe it might have been Yeager. when he took off the mask and went nodded like, "Yep, everything's okay." Just that nod.
Oh yeah.
That was the communication.
Yeah, it smells fine.
He did say Earth
It's
Hour.
the tasting
right.
stuff and
But the signal to everyone else that everything was okay was just nod.
Well, and
Where were
Jaeger.
their spacesuits? Why do they
That's the one
only
thing they
have
got right in the
oxygen
movies. At least.
masks?
They
They didn't have
have
the budget to build those yet?
Which, yeah, that's true.
We do
Yeah.
have spacesuits later in the series.
Well, we
Not
had
even- not even a helmet. It
Naked
was just
Time,
like
right?
a-
They had the hazmat suit.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
they
right.
did have the
Yeah.
gas.
Yeah.
So
There's
it
better
was,
ones later.
it was like one of those airplane masks or something, like
Yes.
Yeah.
depressurized. Like,
It's
well,
similar
okay.
also. Sorry, I'm going to mention Star Wars, but to the
Yeah.
Oh, we
When the-
always mention
Boo!
it.
in the Empire Strikes Back, when the Millennium Falcon, they get out in the Minox and they're inside the beast.
Oh, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
asteroid. They're very similar gas mask or whatever.
Well,
It
he-
is, except that has more substance to it than what they're wearing.
But they stole it from Star Trek.
Actually,
Of course.
actually, yeah, you could just barely like crush it, and it would probably just break part of your hand.
actually looked like the athletic cup.
Oh yeah.
They were just smelling dicks.
Well, and
They were new. They didn't go use
Captain,
it.
I'm getting a
Well,
strange smell.
DeForest Kelly had a new one. The rest of us, the other ones had an old one. A used ones.
and Jaeger was also the one who gave the assessment of, well, how long would we last down there? Not very long. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
that was a great
When
line.
someone tells you what's down there, chief meteorologist, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, we got lava, poison gas.
This afternoon we have a lava front coming in with a 30% chance of acid rain.
You know, that, based on that information.
So bad on Spock on that one. But can I also just say Spock would like dismiss people like a boss?
Oh yeah.
Like he was. It was awesome to see that. Like when he was like, "All right, disperse." They went boom. I feel like when Kirk does it, there's not as much of a spring in their step.
Also, something else Spock did great. This is one of the first episodes. I feel like
He talks. Did the captain's log?
well, he did. Oh, that too.
That was
And
cool.
He also did a sensible search party. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he's
He
like,
didn't
no,
go
I
with
should-
them.
Me and Mr. Scott should stay here.
Yeah. But I meant to ask that. Was that true that this is the first time he actually took over the captain's log temporarily?
I feel like it.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I
Did
put a note in there
disappear
to
in
ask
another
you guys
episode?
this.
I'm trying to. That's a good.
Because I feel like every other time he was down there with Kirk. That's why I felt like
usually
this was the
is,
first.
You know, so far, I actually think through the first season so far, he hasn't really been going on away missions until he's like needs to come down to do
Needs to
something.
go save
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he what was shore leave? He didn't
Shore
come
leave he
down
did.
first.
Yeah. But I don't think he did a log. I think Kirk was doing it from down there.
in the Galileo 7, I thought that he was doing some
His
logs
first
Oh, maybe he
because
did
it was
do-
his
yeah.
command there.
But was he doing a log with that as well?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
okay,
did
okay,
at
cool.
least once. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, cool.
remember.
Interesting.
And listeners, if I'm wrong, please tell me.
Right now.
But nicely.
Tweet at Manda Ailey and use lots of curse words we wouldn't use on this program.
Yeah, but seriously,
But
you
I use
probably
all the
email
time
us
in
at
real
what?
life.
Yes.
Track@iabdp.com.
What?
IABD Presents.
Is that Twitter?
Stack.
At IABD
Oh,
Presents.
I thought you was.
You always
Trek.
say P on your intros.
Well, no, right, but I thought the email when I was listening to the episode, there's an email. It's Trek at.
Sure.
That's what I thought I heard.
It
we
is.
may have
Yes.
said it.
Plot hole. No,
No, it's not a plot hole. We
No, I
own the
know.
domain at IABD Presents, so whatever you put before the outside, it's going to come to me.
Okay.
I just didn't remember that we established an actual email.
3, 2.
All right, so I do have. I just haven't gotten any other of my serious ones yet. Actually, so here's
yeah.
here's a good launching off point, I think. So as they're trying to figure out the science of what is happening, you know, their discussion. I really liked that actually when they were trying to figure out how he's doing what he's doing. It sounded like they're describing replicator technology from Next Generation onward. Do you think that's where they got that from?
Holodeck.
Well, no, like the food replicators,
Oh, okay.
like getting matter from
Matter from
energy.
energy.
Yeah.
Holodeck does that too.
Oh well, yeah.
But
But do you think that's how they got that? That's,
right, and the difference
Could
though
be
there
that.
being that there's no taste.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
having-
Yeah, the taste was that was interesting.
They probably would have thought this guy wouldn't have needed to do anything like that. This is just like him, like
He
a
just knows what they
kid
look
doing
like.
like a tea
Know what
party.
they-
You know, like
yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
fake tea.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Which I kind of said they never brought him back to investigate that more because I think that would have been more fun that he is because he does want the human experience a little bit.
Right.
But well, of course, though which is I think what Schreiber's point is that he gets into the wrong mindset, which is that he wants to kill
Yeah.
and not.
I think he doesn't realize how many primitive human emotions he has. He talks about feeling real anger, not being able to hold on to it. But
That's
I feel
true,
like
yes,
there's some
yeah.
petulance and some
Oh, yeah.
other emotions that he is hanging on to, but maybe thinks he's above them.
Interesting.
I think he's got a lack of self-awareness, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't aware.
I know, Nick. No, you are. I'm just kidding.
Am I though?
No.
But my point, do you think that is their lead, or
Could
that might be
very
with
well
the...
Oh yeah, totally.
Pretenders.
In the same instance that I believe that Trelane could be, yeah, totally. I think there's a lot of, I mean, I think every episode of Star Trek has little things like that, but that's actually a very good point.
So the other one, we were making fun of the way the set looked when they first got down to the
Very obvious soundstage.
Now, one thing I noted then, after we realized what was happening, is that could have been an indication of like his protective dome. So they could have
that's
actually really just had like a...
He had a very fake environment because he created it without the substance.
Though I feel like I've seen that tree before.
Yeah,
And
but
you'll
that
see it
would
again.
also
I will,
add
yes.
to when he slices the tree with the sword.
I hadn't thought of
is
that.
How
Yeah.
fake it looks.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean.
So in this episode only, we're going to excuse the fakeness.
Yeah, only in this episode. See, I'm doing your job now.
Well, in that regard,
You've
though,
learned
we
well.
talked about,
Young Padawan. You
Yeah!
have impressed me.
we watched the enhanced
You're
version,
welcome.
and one thing we all kind of commented on was that it's a beautiful transfer. The planet effects look awesome,
Yeah,
but then you see the castle and they don't do an establishment shot. And you're just like, really? Few
Yeah.
extra bucks? Maybe just CGI the guys
wait.
walking in.
About once an episode, there's something like, why didn't they fix that?
Here's a part they didn't
Not in the budget.
fix. When Trelane captures Kirk on the steps of the castle,
Yeah, it got weird.
and it goes into this really horrible, like
Negative. The negative was probably.
it was
wasn't right.
so bad how they have like the
cage
cage
bars,
part.
yeah.
Oh,
around it.
yeah.
But it looked horrible.
I felt like they just made everything look grainier so you wouldn't notice.
I thought Sulu made a strange choice, acting-wise, during the dance scene. When he got up from the table as he was coming around, he was kind of looking at the Doctor in a way like he was about to ask him to get up and dance with him.
Oh,
Like, it was a
so
weird
Sulu
kind of like
was
this-
gay in the original series.
I don't know. It was like sort of like it's just this weird kind of. I'm trying to get eye contact with you as I'm coming around the table here.
Well, I kind of took it as he's walking around going like, "You have a problem with this? You ain't gonna say anything? You ain't gonna say anything?"
Ah,
Shoot.
nice.
All right,
nice,
Captain. How much longer are we gonna stand
Yeah.
for this crap? Yeah, but
That's right. Actually, I think that's.
But
probably
that's
right.
actually, I like yours a little bit better, especially after the events of Star Trek Beyond. It makes me feel better.
I do too. You failed, Nick. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Oh, thank you.
Last one, of course, is I wondered if Yeoman Teresa
Teresa.
had put ballroom dancing on her resume, like when she was being cast. Like, I can do.
Yeah, but can you also say that he was making her dance like that? Well, I mean, the actress.
I'm
Well,
breaking
they asked
out
her
of it.
about the
like
ballroom dancing as she was
Yes.
getting that gown on, and then she came out, and she's like, "No, I never have." They're like, "Doesn't matter."
Doesn't matter.
Billy,
Magic.
you're just a woman. You just have to follow.
Wow.
And can I also say, I really, the first time I watched it, because I watched the episode twice, the first time I watched it, I
Twice this afternoon.
Twice this afternoon, yeah. Trelane, the horrible acting of the piano playing. And then the second time that with Uhura, you notice you only see her playing it once, and it's just, she just doing that, and then the rest of the time when he's dancing, you barely see her, and you just keep cutting away. But then you see an overhead shot where you can't see her fingers. She's like, I was
Just the head movement. You don't really
clever
see,
directing on that one.
Yeah.
It's like, could you make her look like she's?
I do think the
playing
director
piano?
did a good job this time.
No, I was surprised. Yeah.
When the parents, the amorphous blobby parents show up,
Yes.
I thought it was an interesting acting choice that he completely changed even his tone of voice.
Well, I think it's the play acting,
Yeah.
the child
Yeah.
playing pretend versus now they're being scolded. They have to.
Yeah.
He was pretty good at it, considering like
And-
going back to a child, he couldn't even he had to drop all of his G's.
Yeah, but there are
Everything.
a lot of
Well, yeah.
great hints that he is starting to crumble a little bit, especially when Kirk gets under his
Yeah,
skin.
yeah.
Which,
Of course, maybe that was part of the power
Which
too.
is how we defeat Trump.
Wait, what?
We get under his skin. And
Oh,
yeah.
I was like, we
Thank you for
bring
bringing that one
amorphous
back.
blobs
I was like-
into the.
we
That'll
it
work
is
too.
anomalous
Yeah, Steve Bannon. We just get Steve Bannon to come and take
I
it.
just I saw why he did it that way, but I think like there could have been almost more of a subtle change as opposed to like instantly, like you said, dropping G's
Yeah.
and things like
Just
that.
playing. I was winning.
It just felt like almost too much of a.
Oh
quick
no! To
change.
me, I'm like, if you're a kid on the playground playing pretend, and then the
His
teacher
hair
calls them
showing.
over to scold them. their attitude changes immediately.
And the other thing that's interesting too is that he was very adamant that he is not a general.
Yes.
And then he told his parents, "But mommy, I was a general. I was winning." And you're just like,
Winning.
"Wait,
Yeah.
no, okay." So I thought that was also
That was
a
interesting,
nice little.
What other notes you got, Amanda?
Okay, because I have to always bring up the sexism.
There wasn't any in this episode.
There wasn't an inch of it.
First of all, two things. One, Jim got really mad when I started writing down.
Sexism. When he got mad at me writing down things.
So
Just like a woman would do.
Jimmy. Jim was upset and was like, Kirk is doing this. He's doing a character. I'm like, yeah, I know. But that doesn't mean that the dialogue didn't make me want to write it down.
Okay.
Which was him going up to Ross and saying, you don't have to dance with him. I don't like it. Don't accept his gifts. And I understand. I understand that he was trying to bait Trelane at that point into the duel.
Yes.
However, my biggest part was the I don't like it. Because at that point, it is him being above her and not saying, you don't have to dance with him if you don't want to. It's putting the...
Well, I think he was relating to Trelane from Trelane's frame of reference.
Right, which is Trelane. Trelane always thinks that he's a possessive creature anyway.
Well, and Trelane is also looking at humanity from the late 1700s, early 1800s, where...
That is...
Yeah, that would have been the norm.
Yeah,
You will find
I'm
my
still
own.
really glad I live in the 21st century as a woman, even though we
Sort of.
still are, having...
Well, temporarily, until all the rights are stripped away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're rolling.
Yeah, enjoy
We're rolling
rolling
back
down.
the years as we
I'm just
speak.
saying...
Got the glass broken, rolling back the odometer right now, just like
We're about back to the
They're
1940s
duct taping
right
that
now.
glass ceiling back together as we speak.
Oh my god, I'm so freaking pissed about so much going on in the world. But
We all
basically...
well, it'll all be fixed by the time this airs.
character was doing. I just
I
took
hope
issue
so.
with the I don't like it instead of like if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. That's my own thing. I get your point. I still have issue with it.
Okay.
My other bigger issue. Don't give me that look.
I'm not
Jimmy.
giving you any look.
Yeah, you are. The other part that kind of I was like, really? And we were talking about this before we started recording. Was then once the duel starts, both Uhura and Ross go and stand behind McCoy and Spock, like, oh, protect us. And Steven brought up, like, that's not Uhura's
No, you
character.
heard can kick his butt.
In Naked Time, Sulu has the sword, and she's like, I don't care. I'm going to bust you.
Yeah, and so,
So she
that
didn't-
just pissed
That
me
was out of
off.
character for Uhura. I agree.
Because
Yeah.
that was like, really? First of all, nothing's going on except these two idiots, like, dueling.
She
And
points
Kirk
at me as she says that.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's not even like they were in danger, and then
Yes.
suddenly it's like, oh, we have to hide behind the big men here.
Plus, she
That
just
was
learned to
valid
play the
for sure.
harpshrind, so she was on a roll. There's no need for her to get shrinking flag.
I didn't get that from that at all.
She got to
She
keep
just
that.
stepped over because the guys were already there, and
Yeah.
they just stepped.
No,
over.
they were like behind and holding their arms.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did notice the hand grip.
I didn't.
It was like the escort grip.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
it would be like if I went behind Steven and then did this. That's what was happening. That's because you're a man and you don't see
No,
this.
I wasn't. That to me, they weren't the focus of the scene
They
because they
were
weren't
men
really
too,
talking.
I
It was
noticed
Spock and Bones that were talking, so my attention was drawn to them.
Whenever Uhura's on the screen, she's the focus of that.
I like you, yeah.
Oh, you don't like her half as much as Steven does, I guarantee you.
Well, at least
He cannot wait for
I'm-
Final Frontier just for that one
I'm
scene.
getting a sense of that.
Well, yeah.
at least she got some
She's
FaceTime in this
She
one.
did.
I guess.
Yes.
I do have a question for you, Steven. Because I know you get motion sick as much as I do.
Yes.
Oh.
Did you start to feel motion sick when they were, like, this big screen was up and they were, like,
Oh, and they did
dodging the
the-
planet?
With the nicer effects, yeah.
If I didn't, but I did think about that. Because
Okay.
it definitely was better than it was.
Because I was
as a
starting
kid.
to feel motion sick.
Yeah.
And then it stopped just
yeah,
in
if,
time.
if they'd gone further, then
In
I might
retrospect,
have-
we should have went back and watched the original one to see if it was like a little
I
ball
know, I
string,
made
just
it
like
stuff
this
to
way.
watch.
Yeah, the planet would not have looked good in the
Oh,
end.
not at
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the maneuvers were much slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This, I
just
mean, they
wondered
really.
about that.
The nice thing about the effects now is when they're trying to act like they're looking at something they don't know what they're looking at. It meshes up so much better now.
Yeah.
Oh,
When
like
they were
sight
amazed at
lines.
something, when they were amazed in the past at something, you're like, why are they astonished by that? And now it's like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
That's an actual planet.
Last points before we do rankings.
My alt episode this time was, so he takes Kirk and Sulu or whatever at the beginning, and so of course the alternate guys step into the seats, the helmsman and navigator, when DeSalle says he's going to go or whatever. But then when Trelane takes like 8 of them down, I want to see how they scramble at that point.
See, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, how does anyone even know they're gone from the bridge?
Yeah.
Only the bridge crew really knew what was going on,
Right.
so what does everybody else on the ship think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do they even...
I want to see Ensign Chekhov rush up from below decks and take over the bridge.
I feel like the helmsman and navigator,
That'd be funny.
they're the only 2 left, and they just start doing all the jobs. They just start playing around. Science officer, can I be science officer?
Did Spock
Checking.
tell them all when they were down on the planet or something?
I don't know.
It was like announcement to the ship: the captain's been kidnapped again.
Speaking of that, did they? Is this the first episode they officially said the difference between when he would say fascinating?
There was one point where I couldn't turn off my script editor mind, where Trelane said, like, oh, that would make me very, very angry. And I was like, should have said cross. It would have fit more with the time.
That is exactly what I thought. I thought he was about to say cross.
But
and
he's
didn't.
flawed, so...
Cross would have been a more correct word. Like,
But he's flawed, so
use
continuity
there.
intact. So, men, women of Star Trek, did you change yours to Torres?
I didn't. I thought
You stay with Barros?
I thought, going into it that might happen, but did not happen. I'm
I'm
still
going to
with
stay with Yellow Feathered Showgirl.
I'm still with Barrows, right? Right?
Yeah, you're with Barros. Yeah, I'm staying with Yellow Feathered Showgirl from Shore Leave.
Well, yeah.
Was that her official, like,
I don't think there was.
Credit-
But
credit name?
I don't think she was in the credits because she didn't have any lines.
Hey, girl.
I still have, what's his head from Shore Leave? right?
Rodriguez.
Yeah, Rodriguez.
But I know Trelane's knocked him off.
You know.
Or Jaeger.
Yeah.
To sail.
Sal. Why can't you say
Sal.
that word?
I can't pronounce
I think he did it on purpose
correctly.
that time.
No.
And all the
I
other
didn't
times
do it on
before,
purpose. I did
really?
not.
Because all the other time, that time you just had like an actual more of a, yeah.
No, that was like, I know I'm not going to say it right because I don't remember which one it is, so I'm just going to
It's
say one.
French. De Sal.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Oh, a Frenchman.
Yeah,
Sacre bleu!
I can't.
Parlez-vous français?
I can't go with DeSalle or Jaeger. First of all,
Very Jacques.
Jaeger's a man of science, huh?
Jaeger's a man of science, but Jaeger, when asked, what's the chance that they're living, is just like, not very long.
Well,
And then
Kind
DeSalle
of
is the
more
idiot
Yeah.
who tries to sneak up
Well,
on
that was an
someone in a
estimate.
mirror.
he did ask for an estimate. Approximately how long?
What about his
Not very
dad?
long.
He was pretty sexy.
Oh, I love those amorphous blobs.
I know.
well, and
Yeah.
to be fair, Jaeger probably wouldn't last that long because as the atmosphere tester for the ship, at some point.
Let me just rip this mask
He
up.
died the next
Yeah,
episode.
we're good.
All right, let's keep these on. Moving on.
Yeah. So no, I'm
So all of ours stay intact for the 3rd week in a row because Shore Leave is where they went in. Where do we rank this episode? Above Charlie X, above Mud's Women?
I like Mud's Women a lot. Where did you guys rate Mud's Women at?
Next to last.
Next to last.
Of what we've seen.
Wow.
Of what we've
Yeah.
seen so far.
Well, so
yeah.
far, yeah.
Interesting.
Fair, yeah.
I would put it above Mud's Women, personally. It
Yeah.
was a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think I'd go above Mud's Women.
What are little girls made of? I'd put it above that.
Yeah, I'd put it above that.
Dagger of the Mind. Psychiatric Hospital. I think I'd put it above that.
I would say
too.
above that
Yeah.
myself, but I
Yeah,
enjoyed
me
this
too.
one. So
We're working from the bottom.
Sorry.
Enemy Within. 2 Kirks.
I don't.
Ooh.
Ooh, I think I might like the 2 Kirks better.
I think I liked this better, honestly.
Is it for me?
Yeah, it's up to you.
And Keith hasn't weighed in either.
I'll go Gothos on this.
Ooh.
Keith?
I think I enjoyed them more than most of the ones we mentioned.
Okay, so that goes up. Next one's Miri. It's got to be above Miri.
Oh, jeez.
How is Miri even that high? Miri needs to go down.
That's how Kirk got into. No, I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
Oh, God.
No, I'll.
But then right above Miri is the Galileo 7.
Okay, it's
It's
not as good
definitely
as
below.
that.
Okay, I agree. So
They
let's
draw the line there. They don't go any further.
let's put Squire of Gothos above Miri, below Galileo 7, which is
Sure.
a little bit, just a hair under the middle of the pack. Keith disagrees.
No,
Okay.
that's fair.
Cool. So that's it for this week. Please join us again next week, or in an hour, for the next episode of It's All Been Checked Before.
And what will that be on? Which
An
episode?
In an arena.
Yes.
Lena. Okay.
Weird, odd fun fact: Ben Stiller named his production company Red Dawn after that episode. But
really?
he said it's a very weird and super Star Trek nerdy reason for why he does it, and I can't find it anywhere online. So that's a challenge to you guys for next episode to try to find it, because I couldn't find it doing Google, but my Google foo is not what it is or should be.
Google has failed us.
Yeah. So just throw it out there.
Well, live long and prosper.
Bye.
Ta-ta.
Ciao. I wish you goodbye, or whatever.
I am not in you.